right, we're booked for 1:30 tomorrow.
Word.
At Mosh. All right.
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right, bro. So, second episode of our Clutch Mentality podcast. The first episode, I thought it was real solid. You know, the audio was a little bit wompy, but we're trying to get, level up at this point. But another environment too. We're in my apartment. Our studio is under construction, so we're trying to, get our episodes in. So not a bad environment, just a little cozy apartment. But yeah, man. It's been a minute since you and I even linked up.
Right.
So what's new?
Nothing, man. Starting the school year, working with some new clients, coaching still. So just all over the place, just trying to re-energize myself to get used to my new schedule. But all's good. My application's under review from the Association of Sports Psych. So hopefully in like the next 5-6 weeks, I find out if I could be an applicant to get certified. So I'll keep everyone updated for sure.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I know for you, you're a busy bee. From if it's not wiffle ball, basketball, football, the whole nine. Like you're a busy bee. So I know it's that time of the year where you don't get a break at all.
No breaks till June, but it's worth it. It's always worth it at the end, for sure.
Yeah, I'm going through my fall season as well, it's an interesting time of the year because I've always been, at least for baseball, I've always been caught between how important is the fall so much for like development, right? Especially now that, I mean, I'm sure every coach is dealing with this, but we're trying to play a game in the fall, and every 2 days a new guy is coming up. Coach, my arm hurts, my arm is sore. So it's like, do we shut down for the fall and then just give a little break, or get ready for the off season? But I mean, so far it's been good. The guys that I've been around, young talent, they've been playing well. So it's I look forward to the off season. The off season by far is my favorite time of the year, especially when it comes down to working with baseball players.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. Because it's time to, everyone gets that like feeling, because fall ball is kind of coming to an end, and where you're just like in the middle of it. Everyone wants to try something new. It's like, where are we gonna get ready for the spring? Who's like gonna be the top teams? What do I have to work on in the off season? So I hope your players are coming to you and be like, hey, what do I have to work on so I could be that guy in the spring?
Yeah, for sure. And again, if there's new listeners out there, the whole point of this podcast, the project that you started, brought me into it, is the sports mentality aspect of sports, right? Pretty self-explanatory, but it's a field where I'm sure you can agree is heavily neglected on, but it's now coming around to shed light. So the first episode that we spoke about was on the topic of awareness.
Right.
Today's topic is going to be accountability. I'm very excited about this topic because I'm curious as to what you see about this topic in the quote-unquote sports psychology specifics, and then just the general public and general education of accountability. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we can talk about accountability for freaking 4 or 5 episodes, but to start off accountability, let's define it. So what do you define accountability as?
I say taking responsibilities for your actions on a day-to-day, every day. You're in charge of you. I mean, granted, some people have different situations, but just kind of being responsible for yourself and how you move and how your work ethic throughout your day-to-day base.
Mm-hmm. And then would you say it's like a progression from awareness? Right, so I see it as awareness is that first step, right?
Sure.
So, being aware of whatever, we spoke about emotional awareness, we spoke about physical awareness. Now, is that almost like a second step of, all right, now let me hold myself. Now I am aware. Now, depending on how I hold myself accountable is the second step of progression, or whatever the case is, a goal.
Yeah, no, 100%. So we have awareness. I know where I lack. I know my strong suits. I know what I need to do. Now you then kind of start designing goals, right? And what you need to do. And then you become accountable, because once you're aware of something, right? Now it's your responsibility to take care of that if you care enough.
Right.
Right? You can't blame X, Y, and Z when you're aware of what's happening around you, or someone puts you on notice, or someone's letting you know, like, hey, we need to work on this, hey, you need to do this, hey, we should get better at this. Now it's your own actions that are going to dictate how much you're going to progress or decline throughout, let's say now the fall ball guys going throughout the winter, right? Are they going to grow, or are they going to decline? Are they going to be accountable for their growth, their training, how they're working out, how they're keeping healthy, and most importantly, hitting the books?
Right. Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly the time period now. What I'm seeing is, all right. Well, at least for me, I'm at that point where when I'm working with athletes, especially now, we're setting goals for the off season, right? So what are your goals? If your goal is to throw harder, hit a little bit harder, get a little bit stronger, weight goals. All right. Well, on the weight side, simple, right? Let's try to keep task of what we're eating. Let's keep task of how many lifts we're doing a week. How are we lifting? What's your schedule? And it's funny because it's something that as an adult, it's always been there, right? What I mean by that is the structure of when you're in school, at least my private school used to give like a binder, a little book that used to keep track of like your classes, like a scheduler, right?
Sure.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? You keep track of
Like
your
a planner.
assignments. A planner,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
right? Why wasn't it until, I'm an adult where now I start implementing a planner for my day to day when I could have been implementing a planner for my day to day as an athlete,
Right.
right?
No one pushed you to do it. No one challenged you to do it. There wasn't this like huge thing around planning XYZ, right? You woke up, you went to school, you played ball, right? And if you were better than everyone else, you would go to the gym after, or you might take a little extra reps. And, there was no guidance if you didn't have someone over you saying, you need to plan this out. You need to plan out our days. Fortunately enough, there's a lot more coaches, and there's a lot more studies, and there's a lot more ability of planning throughout your day, and people telling you how to plan, and literally courses and teachers helping you. And because people understand now, like, there's such a different side than just working out,
Yeah.
right? We have to plan. Are you planning what you're eating? Like, how elite of an athlete do you want to be?
Right.
If you're just going to play ball, then you don't need to plan. You just go and play ball. But if you're trying to go to the next level, everything scheduled and everything planned is probably going to keep you on a strict routine. And not only that, you're going to have a boost of energy when you cross those things off your list, right?
Yeah.
So if I did my 6 o'clock, my 7 o'clock, boom, 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 now I'm like, oh, I'm having a great day. I'm just going to keep it going because I love the feeling of crossing things off my list.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. And then the whole premise of, all right, we know as coaches, and then I think I'm not a father or parent, but it's clear that the things that my parents did to me, like, the strictness or the rules, it's kind of like to develop that accountability aspect, right? For sports, I'm sure I see many times now it's not the same where, like, once you're committed to a team, you have to show up to as simple as showing up to games and practices. I see it in Little League.
Bare
right?
minimum.
Yeah, the bare minimum. Like, you sign up your kid for Little League baseball and you decide to go to the beach or whatever the case is. I get it. Once in a while, whatever, summer ball, whatever the case is. But you're committed. You committed your kid to this team, and then you're the problem, right? You're not bringing your kid forward, or whatever the case is. And those are all trickle down effects, right? If you're showing your kid early not to be accountable for their commitment to the team, then I could just imagine how that's going to translate to just not being accountable for everything, right? And we see it a lot. I see it when a kid does a mistake, right? When a kid does an error on the field, when a kid forgets equipment, right? It's never, oh, like, I did this or that. It's always something else. It's always an excuse ready. Five excuses before even like the whole thought comes out.
I work in a high school, and it's just like, it's amazing. So I have a couple of things on accountability. So accountability starts from, a young age, right? Why do we lie to our parents when, you get in trouble, right? So you could get out of trouble. So if it starts from the parents, right? From my theory and what I believe in is that when your kid starts to lie, because they're afraid that they're going to get in trouble, instead of being like not not like praised for honesty, right? But like praised for honesty, like thank you for being honest with me. Now these are the consequences, right? Like I tell the kids that I coach or anyone, like, don't lie to me, right? Like I'm not here to like punish you, right? Like that's not my job.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want you to be as honest as you can with me, and I appreciate all honesty, but there's always consequences to all actions,
Right.
right? So you have to, as coaches, as mentors, as parents, I would really like to say, you want that open dialogue with these kids that you're a part of in their lives, because if they lie, then that's also going to be and they get away with it. There's just going to be a whole openness of like unaccountable athletes, right? They're going to blame, oh, there was dirt in my eye. Oh, the umpire was bad. Oh, the referee stunk, right?
I haven't
Because,
had bad in 4 games.
right. Oh, I foul tipped. That was a great bat. The thing is that we're not asking you to be perfect, and we're not asking you to be great. It's just more of, don't make up a story. Just be like, yeah, that's on me. Yeah, I messed up. Okay, great. You messed up. Now, how are we going to get better so we can limit the mistakes?
Right.
Right? Because we have to encourage mistakes, right? That's the only way you can learn, get better, you can grow stronger. You know, like mistakes make the athlete, right? Failure makes the athlete. Coaches don't shouldn't punish failure, right? What they should have consequences for is for the athlete that plays it off like they don't care, or the athlete that is making 10 different excuses on why they didn't. Oh, you woke up late. Oh, there was traffic. Or did you just go to bed late?
Right.
Right? Or did you
Yeah.
party hard last night?
Right.
Right? So you're like sleepy. Those are the things that the athlete can control. They could
Yeah.
control how they move and how hard they work and all those things. That's what you could do. If it's a bad hop, it's a bad hop. But we don't get on athletes for that.
So would you say we would measure accountability as a skill set? As in, like, this player, if I were to categorize his, he has great work ethic, he's very accountable, or he's lacks accountability. So it's that more like a characteristic thing for a skill set, or meaning, is that more of a characteristic that we're looking for as an athlete, right? His level of accountability.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes right under like a leadership aspect, right? Because you want an athlete that can not only hold himself accountable, but the team accountable,
Right.
right? Because and then not only that, someone that the team also respects. If you have a leader or you have multiple guys on your team that hold themselves accountable, right? Hold themselves to a high standard, and then they hold their teammates to a high standard and they don't let them like fall off. Now you got something special, or at least you got a couple of special kids where you could grow a program, where you could grow a team into becoming something great. And it starts from like the coach holding those kids accountable, and then those kids holding everyone else accountable. And it's just a lot of like love and a lot of like honesty within the group, because no one's gonna point fingers. People are gonna be like, hey, it's all right, next play. But if you're laughing it off and you're making excuses, you're being silly, that's when like the teammate has to step in
Yeah.
before the coach does, because
Right.
the coach isn't going to get upset with you because you
Right.
messed up,
Right.
right? They're going to get upset with you when the effort isn't there.
Right.
So don't point the fingers, don't blame the umpire. You have to just be like, oh, that was bad, that's on me, that's
Yeah.
on me, right? Okay, great, I know it's on you, that's amazing, but now, or do we want to get better? And this is how we can get better. And are you going to have enough discipline to do that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that you said, especially with, like you said, the program, like culture in a program. And I think accountability is something that, every coach wants in their program, right? A level of accountability. Not so much that, you shouldn't be, as a coach, you're doing your job well, when you're not the one always having to tell your players, go get a rake, go get the bucket, go get the helmets, go take off the tarp. And, those are the things that run fresh in my brain, because recently in these past couple of years as a coach, I've been blessed when I'm in a situation where I have talented players, right? They of course can get better, but it's a great foundation. Me, someone who believes in their ability to make players better, that's a home run for me, right? Great talent. So it's not so much now being a coach to make kids better. Now it's all right. These kids are already better. I got to navigate these waters and set like this culture, right? The culture is solid. Now it's constantly improving the culture. And now more than ever, I think, we're seeing kids in my varsity team that's been part of varsity for 3 to 4 years now, that now they're, like I said, it's not one or two captains. Now I'm starting to see 4, 5, 6 leaders among upperclassmen, and it trickles down, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just energy is contagious, right? Behavior is contagious. That culture is contagious. One person buys in, everyone should buy in, which isn't the case right now. Everyone's
No.
not buying in, but sooner or later, like that kind of, when everyone buys in, you either have one choice. You're either gonna buy in or get kind of pushed out at some capacity, where you're not gonna want to be a part of the team. Where the case is, you're not looking forward to attending practices, or is the opposite, where now you're looking forward to attend practices and be there for your team, regardless of what your role is.
Yeah, I think that culture aspect, this is my 4th year at the high school that I'm at, and it's pretty interesting to see because the senior class, I've had since I was freshman, whether it's coaching football or this, that, and, this year we don't have the best athletes. But I have to say the senior leadership is through the roof because you come in and you set the tone, and then you have these kids buying in for 2, 3 years. They know what it takes to win, and they know how they want their team to be. And my football team, probably the best cultured football team I've had, right? Not even close to the best athletes I've ever had, but we're undefeated right now. So pretty sick because it's fun. It's fun to go there because everyone wants to work and everyone wants to get the job done. Same thing with baseball. I've had these kids for 4 years, and they're not the best in the world, but I don't have to go on the field and be like, hey, we have to do this. Hey, set
Yeah.
this up. Hey, take this down. They already know what to do because the seniors know what to do, or like the guys who've been there before know what to do, and they just get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when you realize, like, oh, we're building something really special here because everyone's kind of coming together, and it's not something that you have to do, or this is not what to do, but this is what we do. And I think that's the piece that every team needs. It's not this is what we have to do, this is what you're going to do. This is what we do because this is what we do, and that's how we thrive as a culture and as a team.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So now, if I'm a player, right, I'm Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
You're coaching. You're coming up to Ryan and saying, Ryan, you got to work on your accountability. Right, it's just something, that's something that you lack. That's an area where I can see you improving. So now, as an athlete, how do I work on my accountability? Like, what does that take? Is it a mindset? Is it actual actions? Like, how do I work on my accountability?
I think when something goes wrong and you're about to catch yourself making an excuse, you stop making an excuse. It's like it's very much catching yourself in the moment and taking responsibility for actions. So all day I hear a whole bunch of excuses, this teacher, this, that person, this. Okay, right? But are you going to act like this or like that because someone else is, right? You're responsible for you. So don't come to me and say an excuse, right? I'm watching. I'm watching you. I'm seeing everything that's happening. You can't say something happened. I'm right there.
Yeah.
I think it's very much working on it, calling the person out to be like, hey, we spoke about this. We got to be a little bit more accountable, right? Believe in yourself and know that nothing is going to happen. All your athletes lie to you because they're scared they're going to get punished.
Yeah.
Understand that. Your athletes are lying to you because they're scared that something horrible is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to get cut. They're going to do this, that. Coaches, whatever, you have to create essentially a safe space that the athlete is not afraid, but understands that there will be consequences.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you make them run or you set them for a game or this and that, because if you're talking like high school ball, you're talking middle school ball, travel ball, and these kids aren't getting paid, right? They're playing out here because they love the game, and you're coaching and you're not making that much money, I'm sure. So you're building young men, you're building these players, right? You don't want to create a culture of adults that are liars,
Right.
right? Or that are scared to tell the truth.
Right.
You want to say, like, okay, thank you for telling me. I appreciate you being honest. I appreciate you telling me that straight up. I don't have to find out the truth. Now, because you did that, we got to do this,
Yeah.
right? And that's it. And then life goes on and
Yeah.
it dies there,
Yeah.
right? The young man took responsibility. I love that for you, right? And the consequences, sometimes they could be a little tough and sometimes they're probably not as bad as what they think it is,
Yeah.
right? But you have to create that environment.
Right.
And once you create that environment, you're going to see a lot more relaxation within your team and a lot more players that are not afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's the culture you need. You need players that are going to go for it, not scared, ready to go.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
that's what all coaches want.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to talk about two things, right? So I want to talk about like the mindset of being accountable, right? So what type of mindset should you have to be accountable, right? So the reason why I bring this up, because I'm curious, like one of my favorite like research psychologists is Dweck,
Okay.
Carol S. Dweck, right? So I'll bring it back because the reason why I bring her up is because I had in I think my senior year of college, I had a psych experiment, right? My major was heavy on, it was psych based, but it was heavy on running experiments. So you would social experiments on like students, you would have them participate, they get credits, they'll give you a budget, you could even give them money. So it was really cool. So my thesis at the time vaguely was kind of focusing on, it was a phenomenon called behavioral mimicry,
Okay.
right? So it's a phenomenon that you see a lot in like dinner. So for example, we'll eat in dinner, right? We're talking, you're not even thirsty, but I'll grab my cup of water, I'll take a sip. Next thing you know, you're doing the same thing. Like you're not even thirsty, but you're doing the same thing. Or we're in a group having a conversation, right? You're with your arms straight, and all of a sudden I cross my arm, and then all of a sudden like everyone's crossing their arm because they're part of a group. So my premise was taking that phenomenon and kind of at the time was designed for the classroom, but my thesis was taking that not only in the classroom but applying that in sports. So this is how we did it in the classroom. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
So the design was this. I was obviously the experimenter. Then I had a participant, right? Then I had someone who was in on the experiment. So it would be you, let's say you're someone that's participating for the first time, the person I have in on the experiment, right? And I gave what was an anagram. So an anagram is a set of letters, you put them around, it will form a word.
Yeah.
So the first one will be easy. The second one was kind of difficult. The third one was borderline impossible, because it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Right? It was just a bunch of letters.
Sure.
So what I would do was I would ask, it was 50-50, so I'd do one way for one group, one way for another group. But I would ask the person who was in on the experiment, do you want to continue with the experiment or do you want to quit? Right? Because it was on a timer. If the time runs up, you got to stop. Right? So now I'll ask you, do you want to continue? So during the experiment, whenever I asked the person that was in on the experiment if they wanted to continue and they said, yes, I do, the other person would copy it. Or no, I don't, the other person will copy it. At one point, I even seen participants quit. Even way before I asked a question to the other person that was in on it, they would quit the experiment. Then I would ask the person, I'll go with the experiment and ask the person that was in on the experiment, do you want to continue or quit? The person was like, I want to continue. And the other person that was in it was like, you know what? I want to continue too. So it's that contagious effect, what I call behavioral mimicry. Yeah. So going back to accountability is that mindset of if you can start getting one or two guys to buy in on being like accountable and setting those examples, right? You can pick like, those guys that listen, he already has a good foundation of a character. He's a great kid. I want this kid to really set an example. Next thing you know, everyone starts picking around and kind of behaving in the same way. Yeah. So that was like one thing that I always felt that that's another point of you can't let individuals act their own way, right? Everyone has to kind of buy in the system. Mm-hmm. So if you get that one or two guys to buy in, then hopefully everyone buys into that. The opposite end of that as well is, all right, concrete. Like what are the real ways someone can hold themselves accountable, right? Meaning like whether notebook, should I, templates or something, whatever the case is. What can you use as a young athlete to actually hold yourself accountable and on the concrete side?
Yeah, so I think this kind of goes into, if we're talking about accountable for your growth as an athlete, I think this kind of has to go into whatever your goals are, right? So when we talk about accountability for athletes, it's all right, what are your goals? Okay. You have this goal, that goal. Okay. Now, what are you going to do to achieve those goals, right? Great. So what do you do now? What are you willing to sacrifice, right? What are you willing to do, right? Those are the three things, right? What do you do now that's getting you closer? What are you willing to sacrifice, right? What do you do now? So you have those, you see it out. Okay, I need to sacrifice this. I need to sacrifice that. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to do that. This is what I'm doing now. So I have all these things. Now it's okay. Now I have to make a schedule. What's my schedule going to look like? So if I want to lift, if I'm benching, I don't know, 150 and I want to get to 175, how many days do I have to be in the gym? Okay, I'm going to go to gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Great. So it's about just like keeping yourself on a schedule. And if you miss a day, okay, don't go crazy over it. But you have to adjust your schedule now.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to be like, wow, and then write it down. Journal all the things you're doing, like whatever your goals are. So if your goal is going to the gym, okay, I went to the gym today, I did this, I'm writing it down, I'm seeing it in real time. I'm like, wow, I'm really slacking. And I'm building that like kind of skill set of making a schedule, holding myself, like I'm taking notes on the days that I'm going, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing. I'm reflecting on my day, like, oh man, I missed that, I didn't lift that day. So it's kind of short and sweet. Make a schedule, plan out how you're going to do that schedule, and then reflect each day, did I achieve these goals, and I could cross it out on my day. Right. And if I didn't do it that day, I have to push it over to another day where I could find time to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how you stay accountable, right? By holding yourself accountable. Also, another thing that's really proven is that you get an accountability partner, right? And what an accountability partner is someone that has a like-minded goal, just like you, where you guys could hold each other accountable. So if we are teammates and we both have similar goals, right? I'm going to the gym. You coming? No, you're not. Well, you gotta get into the gym, bud. Hey, I'm throwing today. You're not gonna throw a bullpen today? Well, let's go, right? Someone that could push each other to be greater, that know each other's goals, that you could do a weekly check-in, you could do a daily check-in. Hey, did you hit these? Because what it is I don't want to disappoint that person. Right. I made a commitment to that person, my accountability partner, like I'm going to do this. And so when that person's checking in with me, I can't let that person down. He's checking in on me. Yeah. Right. So accountability partners are huge. If you're not like you're not mandatory to go to these things. So find someone that has similar goals than you, right? Hold each other accountable, hold yourself accountable, make a plan, make a schedule, right? Reflect each day on those plans and that schedule, see what you did, and then just continue the motion.
Yeah, for sure. And I know for a fact, the rebuttal for that is always going to be, all right, well, I don't know how to make a schedule. I don't know how to make a template, make a workout program. It's 2024. You go on Google. That's why it always blows my mind. Like, coach, yeah, for sure, I can write you a program, absolutely. But it's 2024. You can go on Google, look up programs. You could look up Miami U strength program. You could look Vanderbilt strength program. You could look up templates for class schedules, habit trackers. Right. Like I use something. So I'm a big Mac guy, right? I have a Mac. I have a bunch of iPads. I use something called Notability.
Okay.
Right.
And look up this app. Go.
Yeah. If you ever heard of Notability, it all syncs. There's a bunch of templates you could do. I do my scheduling there, from training calendars, habits, goals, and like the vision boards. It's kind of like a vision board, right? Be visual. Like maybe get a whiteboard, put it in your room, track down what you're doing. Just be visual, because a lot of times I think that it's easy to keep things in your mind for sure, but if you're not measuring, you're not mastering, right? It's like if you're not keeping track of things, you're just kind of like aimlessly doing things. I want to throw a couple things at you.
Can I stop real quick?
Go for it. Go.
An app that's excellent that I know a lot of like known sports psychologists use is called Habit Share. Okay. And what that is really cool, is that say me and you, or say you were coming to me and you were my client, right? We put in your goals in Habit Share, and it says, and you have to check off each thing, and I can see.
Gotcha.
Right. So, if we met weekly, I'm looking into your thing like, oh, you're not reading 20 pages a day, right? You're not checking it off that you did it, like those things. So that's great for an accountability partner. And it's a awesome app.
Yeah.
Right. I use it time to time. Right. If I want to, like, if I need to complete a task by a certain X amount of time, I do it just so it could just like, I could get that pop up.
Yeah.
And you could share whoever on it.
Nice.
And everyone could see what you're doing. So if you put it on a team, you throw your whole team on there and be like, Ryan didn't bench. Ryan's not working.
For sure.
So everyone could hold each other accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting.
So if you have people that are accountable, are not going to lie on it.
Yeah.
Now.
What's it called again?
Habit Share.
Habit Share.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look into it.
Yeah, look into that.
I'm gonna look into it. So, again, I want to throw some things at you real quick. So, I want to get your outtake on these titles, categories, whatever you call them, but more like on the perspective of like a sports psychologist, right? So, growth mindset.
Okay.
How can you? What is so important of a growth mindset?
Well, I mean, growth mindset, it's not settling, right? So if you're a fixed mindset, you're stuck on one thing. This is the only right way. Having a growth mindset is being able to, as I like to say, think like a scientist, meaning that I took from Michael Gervais in Mastery book. It's an amazing book. And the first rule of finding mastery. One of the best books I've ever read by Michael Gervais, like a leading sports psychologist. Think like a scientist, and that means that your right way of thinking is always right until something else is proven to be better, right? So always searching and always being open for different approaches, different ways to do something right. Always able to say, like, there's always a better way, and being in the search of that better way. Being fixed is, you don't want that fixed mindset where it's like, this is the only way to do something, this is the only way to that, I'm stuck in my ways. You're never going to be able to grow. So when you think like a scientist, when you have that kind of growth mindset open to different types of possibilities, now you're able to take information in from everywhere, and you could sort through that information to see what works best for you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to talk about is emotional intelligence. Like, what does it mean to be emotional intelligent?
Being aware of how you're feeling, right? Understanding, like, I am getting upset. So when I talked about awareness in the first episode, another sports psychologist and other people in the field like Brian Kane and stuff, they talk about like a red light, yellow light, green light effect. And so when we talk about red light, that means you're out of control. Like, I feel that I cannot control what I'm about to do. And then your yellow light is like, oh, I'm feeling a little uneasy. I'm not going on all cylinders. I'm a little upset. And then green is like your best day ever on the field, right? Like, everything's just working out so lovely. So emotional intelligence is understanding how you're feeling in the present moment, right? And understanding how to help yourself emotionally in that present moment. So a lot of things that we talk about is like self-talk. What are 3 action words that you could use on the mound or up at bat, right? Like swing hard, like swinging hard, step, fight.
Yeah.
Cues,
Cues.
Cues. Recentering yourself during an at bat or on the mound. So like having like a refocus. You might see batters like stare at the foul pole, stare at like the Louisville Slugger on their bat or a dot on their bat, just to get like locked into the present moment. So being able to understand what you're feeling in that moment and being able to change the feeling.
Gotcha.
So you're not feeling too high
Yeah.
and you're not feeling too low.
Yeah.
You're always feeling right here in like that optimal zone.
Right. Especially with like anxiety, right? So it's understanding what anxiety is, how it feels in real time. So I know with me, when I played, I knew I was nervous when I couldn't feel my legs. For some reason, like my legs almost like start getting numb. So at that moment, I had to like regroup. But early stages, not knowing what that was, I thought I was like hurt. I thought it was like some type of injury. Like why, my hammies like feel like it's pulling a little bit, but it's not even like nothing's wrong. It's just
Nervousness is great though. Like
sure.
nerves means you care,
right.
right? Like, I can't even tell you. Think about all the big moments in your life you were nervous for.
Yeah.
Right? Like you just got engaged, right?
Right.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like 100%. If you care about something, you're nervous about it, right? It's your body telling you that there's like a fight or flight. Like it's your body's response for something important is happening. Like I have to be ready to go.
Right.
Right? So embrace the nerves, right? But emotional intelligence is being able to channel the nerves, right? So like I'm nervous. What are the things am I working on? Am I working on my breathing, right? Do I have a technique on my breathing? Do I have a technique on how to refocus? Do I have words that self-talk words, that I could tell myself to feel good? Do I have a routine that I do pregame so I could like channel how I'm feeling, right? There's all these mental aspects that you can do to channel these nerves into lowering them down, right? Becoming a lot quieter. And that's where I would come in and help. Or, if you're like that well on like the self-awareness and emotional intelligence level, you might have your own thing, and that's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. The one thing that you said earlier, to bring it all in together, you talked about fear, right? But you were using fear as not wanting like disappoint your teammate. I want to talk about the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation.
Okay.
So let's start with intrinsic.
Okay.
And I want you to give me a little bit of definition on that.
Intrinsic motivation is what motivates you, right, on the inside. Like what gets you going, right? Like it's all you. Extrinsic is if it's like all outside gains. So, if I work, I get money, right? I like money, so I'm going to work more.
Yeah.
Right? Money is the motivation. That's extrinsic, whatever. Me going to the gym because it makes me feel good is intrinsic. Me doing something for not an outcome based, but for me, that's your intrinsic motivation. Right? Anything that has to do with my own personal and how I feel doing it is intrinsic. Everything else, outcome-based stuff, right? Stuff that people are giving me because of it, right? Or outcomes, that's all extrinsic.
Yeah. Is there one better than the other? So if I have more extrinsic, motivation, it's going to power me more than having intrinsic motivation or vice versa.
Most of the time, intrinsic will get you to your goals and where you want to go more than extrinsic motivation, because you want to do it personally more than someone else has kind of control over, right? Like I'm working a lot because I get money and I need money. That's extrinsic motivation. It doesn't do anything. It's not making me feel happy or safe or calm or this. If anything, it can make me more stressed, right? Intrinsic is everything. It's like what I believe in.
Yeah.
Right. That's what's going to get the job done. Yeah. Right. It's the utmost belief in myself and what I really want.
One thing I would love for us to do, I know it's a big project, but I think if we can do this, it could be worth something. I would love to see how many of our players, whether it's the players on my baseball team, the players I work with in the off season throughout the summer, your athletes, I would love to see how many of them are intrinsically motivated compared to extrinsically motivated, and see like, are the ones that are intrinsic are the kids that perform a little bit better, or vice versa. Because I think that the kids that are extrinsically motivated. So I'm showing up to practice because my dad wants me to do this. I'm here because my mom wants me to do this. Is that a little bit of a disadvantage compared to someone who's there because I want to be there? Like I'm not in practice because mommy, daddy wants me to be too. I'm not at this game because mommy and daddy wants me to be here. I'm at this game because I love this game. I want to be
No.
here.
I mean, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. So you talk about certain athletes that might be, they might feel like that's their only option, right? You know, you see a lot of football players, basketball players, some baseball players, like, you know, I work this hard so I could make my family have a
Yeah.
better life. You know, that's all extrinsically motivated. They might hate the game,
Yeah.
but they're really good at it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's enough to push them over.
Yeah.
Right? Because intrinsically they want to make sure that their
Yeah.
family's good. And that's their motivation, like their family. But intrinsically, most of the time, most studies will say, because I love this and I want this, that's what's going to make it work.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up too is like Conor McGregor. I'm a big MMA guy, boxing guy, combat sports guy. There's a saying, it's hard to wake up when you're sleeping in satin sheets, right? So like these guys that make it to that level, right? You already reached the pinnacle, right? You've been a champion. You got a World Series championship ring. You know, you're MVP, you're all-star this, all-star that, right? At what point where like, do you lose a little bit more do you lose motivation because you set so like your goals are no longer I want to be the best that I can be for myself. I love this. I want to be the best. It's more like, well, I want $1 million. You know, so then once you get those $1 million, then it's over.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what you're doing it for. Like,
Yeah.
what are your goals for the season? What's your, you know, every year new goals are set.
Yeah.
So it's like, how much do you want to compete within yourself? Because you're not competing with other guys. You're really just competing with who you were the previous season,
Yeah.
right? Or who you are today. You know, I batted 300. I want to bat 310, 315. You know, that's what we make goals for. We don't I don't make goals to be better than you,
Yeah.
right? I make goals to be better than myself,
Yeah.
right? Because that's the only measurement that you can have,
Right.
right? I can't measure myself to you.
Yeah.
Two different players, two different people, two different everything.
Right.
You know, people compare us, but if I'm growing each year, that's the only thing that really matters, and that should be enough of that.
Yeah.
You know, like, am I getting better in my fielding? Am I getting better in my hitting? Am I getting better here? And that's what I'm working hard,
Yeah.
right? I'm the only competition.
Yeah.
No one else is. I'm not competing with anybody else except me.
Yeah.
You know, and if I'm doing my best on the field and I'm putting all myself out there and I could walk off with my held high, what else can I give? What else can I do? I can't do anything more than what I'm already doing. And you have to be happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good stuff. You know, accountability, I think it's something that is easier than people think. What I would love to do is just provide a little bit more guidance to younger athletes on actually, you know, like just more like the concrete things of accountability, right? I think everything that we spoke about today is spot on the mental side and emotional side and everything that brings into accountability. I think as a coach, the good coaches are the ones that are like really painting out a picture of, all right, well, you're a young athlete. I'm sure, you know, you need a little bit more help. These are the steps that you need to take to get A to B. Follow this plan, right? Trust in the process. Trust in the process. I'm a coach. You need this. Trust in the process. We'll get there together. If you buy in, then we'll more likely to get to where we want to be compared to if you don't.
For sure. 100%. You know, I would just end off with, you know, coaches don't punish for honesty. Parents try not to punish for honesty, right? Give them consequences, let them understand the consequences. And you know, coaches, parents, hold your kids accountable for their goals. You know, if you want to see them succeed in their goals, hold them accountable and let them know, like, hey, I'm here to help you if you need help. But if you want to do this on your own, you got to hold yourself up to a higher standard and find someone that shares same goals, like-minded goals that could help you along your journey, right? That's why people have gym partners, right? That's why people have partners in a lot of goals that they set, because it helps them get it done and it keeps them accountable. So hold them accountable. Don't let, you know, if you're going to hold Jimmy accountable, you have to hold Ryan accountable. If you hold Ryan accountable, you have to hold this person accountable. You have to hold everyone accountable. when you're coaching, no one gets special treatment, and that's how you know you're gonna build a culture, and you're gonna uplift these young people for whatever they end up doing in their lives, because not all of them are gonna make the MLB, not all of them playing D1 baseball, basketball. You have to, your job as a youth sports coach is to create young men that are going to hold themselves accountable, hold them to a higher standard, and knowing that if they work hard, good things can happen. That's your job, or that's how I view my job as a high school coach or youth coach, that I'm building bonds and I'm putting real life scenarios in their hands that has to do with sports. And I'm trying to create them that knowing that like this is hard and I'm making it hard, but you can do it because that's what life is going to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I take the most pride in as a coach.
Yeah.
You know, and I think more coaches need to have a similar kind of mindset with that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right? Like make them the best player that they can, but also make them the best human
They can.
that they can be too. And that's what I try to challenge all coaches to do.
Yeah.
You know? And that's how I hold myself up to that standard.
Yeah. I definitely could not say it any better than that. So just to wrap it up, this is our second episode. If any feedback, hopefully our audio is a lot better than the first episode.
Sure hope so.
But if there's any questions from the guys, you know, subscribe to our little page. I know we got to grow a little bit in regards to getting different platforms. But again, the whole point of this is to really, we're big believers in sports psychology. So we're just trying to share some knowledge to players, parents, coaches out there. If there's any plugins, Columbus Day weekend, NYESL stickball, come out and play. If you have a softball team, baseball team, come out, come play. It's good times. If you're a first time team, we won't charge you. It'll be free. You started playing for this first year. You like it, so
A lot of fun for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, thanks guys. Reach out, hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, whatever the situation is, and we're always here.
Yeah, let us know some topics. Give us some topics as well. We're gonna bring up some guests soon, maybe.
Oh, that sounds great.
All right, guys. Thank you.